Our Electric Motor Division and Locomotive Service Manual, Section 13, Load Test and Horsepower Standardization. General, the purpose of the publication describes the load test for the horsepower standardization. SD45 locomotive accurate standard as horsepower data can be used to evaluate engine auxiliary and equipment performance, indicate possible malfunction, excessive horsepower output, correct malfunction will improve the engine performance operation with the correct horsepower will determine abnormal wear limit rates. Service data of the page is included with this instruction. These pages provide the following reference for the drawing, the publication relating the equipment procedure covered in this publication, list of routine maintenance parts of the equipment recommended to use for the procedure, given the instruction specification covering the components and circuit, the horsepower loading resistance, the graph, and the horsepower correction factors. Contents of the procedure covered in this publication are as follows: the inspection before load testing, test speed of the load box and grid hatch, the test speed, test setup of the dynamic braking grids and parallel load box and grid hatch, horsepower standardization. Inspection before load test. Stop the diesel engine, remove the starting and generator fuel fuse, check the fuel tank contains sufficient fuel, minimum of 300 gallons for the period of load, lasts about 90 minutes, and the fuel should be in accordance with the specification listed in the MI 1753 with the check the oil level, engine oil pan, air compressor, governor, engine air filters, check the coolant level, and the stop fuel marking for the water tank at the sight glass gauge, make the engine airbox inspection, check the condition, piston rings, and cylinder walls. Temperature measuring during the load testing. Suspend the thermometer of the measuring ambient temperature through the manometer maybe hung the radiator inlet grill figure 13.1. Note the inlet air filter compartment and door will remain closed during the testing. Refer to the horsepower correction factor during the page during the correction concerning temperature rise across the air filters. To remove the plug engine mounted with the fuel filter, install the dial thermometer to read the fuel oil temperature. A thermometer will be located in the water pump discharge elbow. The well will oil with a plate for the glass thermometer for making the engine water temperature inlet temperature. Suspend the cage glass thermometer to make the oil level and lube oil strainer housing. This will give the engine oil inlet temperature. Load testing, locomotive on load box. Using the engine load resistor load box, recommended load testing. However, the shunt meters separate with the load box, recommended accuracy. Our thermometer placement for the load testing: cage thermometer, oil strain, and diameter thermometer, 4 ports, oil level, glass thermometer, well, suspended glass shade from sunlight. Alright, when making the load test, the available value of load resistance must be suitable to 3600 horsepower. Should be selected. Observe the following maximum value during the test. The alternator AR10 voltage never over 900.2. 900. The AR10 locomotive not over 4,000 horsepower load resistant graph that provide with the surface data of the page of the graph to indicate the resistance value of the available stored or load box. This indicate the resistance values obtained with the parallel loading box. The locomotive's dynamic braking resistor grids recommended. The resistance values are shown in the dark lines. Graph crossing marks of the lines indicate the maximum continuous current line with the load of the box type of combination resistance. Our caution: care should be taken to do not exceed the maximum current from the loading resistant. Even excessive current to any step should be applied load enough to take up the meter reading any of the assertion of the system operating the load regulator not powering limit any of the curve area of the horsepower curve. Test setup. Set up the diesel engine, set the locomotive handbrake, move the starting fuse in the generator field fuse at the base of the electrical cabinet, disconnect the main generator shunt panel bus into the place to connect the 4000 amp to 500 millivolt shunt, connect the positive cable, leave the loading of the resistor box, grid hatch for the AR10 alternator generator positive indicating that figure 13.2. Refer surface data pages on generator current data for the cable current ratings. So you have your ground shunt cable, the cable load positive box positive 4,000 amp, the 500 millivolt shunt, 0 to 50 volt millivolt meter, ground parallel. The one parallel locomotive with the load box with the connected to 550 to 24 cable to the right with the number 5 of the M12 unit for the extent of the dynamic range of dynamic braking, 150 volt DC to the backward transition, forward transition, grounding negative relay. Alright, connect the 0 to 75, 0 to 55 millivolt meter with the shunt contact the 0 to 115 volt DC to indicate the main generator voltage. To connect the negative lead for the loading of the resistor grid for the hatch for the alternator AR10 negative shown in figure 13.2. Note when the parallel extending range of the dynamic braking grid load box connect the 550 24 cable negative bus time. To disconnect the MJ6Y with the number 1 common terminal isolation auxiliary relay. Figure 13.3 to prevent the pickup of the power contact the control jumper with the terminal G with the power contactor 714 and terminal H power contactor 736 to provide the feed with the generator with the field contactor. Since the power contactor will drop during the load testing. 8. Place the transition sequence test panel. Read rotor selector switch in the manual sequence testing. This is to preclude pickup of the forward transition relay. Swing on the engine control panel. Disable the wheel slip circuit with performing one of the following steps. One of the when inside with the IDAC wheel slip control, disconnect the AL1 wire with the IDAC wheel slip control terminal number 2. Disconnect the ALG wire with the wheel slip control terminal number 1. On units with wheel creep relay and wheel slip the relay, disconnect the AL1 wire with the terminal board TB68A7. Then carefully insulate all the loose wires and ends. Alright, you have your installation selector switch, isolation auxiliary relay, your battery jumper, the power relay, ground switch, ground shunt, power contactors, transition sequence testing, manual sequence testing from normal insulated wires, wheel slip control terminals. Connect the jumper wire with the terminal B1 and B2 with a pair with a PR with this the chain with the bend with the performance pan control line. Ensure that the full loading of the power plant available load resistor box with the sufficient capability adequate load of the SD45 locomotive. Refer to the surface data with the graph. Proceed the load test if loading resistor grid hatch with the connect with the parallel with the locomotive's own dynamic braking grids. Make the following cable connections. Cost of the dynamic braking resistor grids the SD45 locomotive and not sufficient capacity for fully loaded units. Load box grid hatch must be parallel to the grids. Or parallel dynamic braking resistor grids with the loading of the resistor, the basic dynamic brake. The unit under the testing equipped with the basic dynamic brake to perform the following current 4 with 0.86 ohms locomotive dynamic braking resistor grids and series parallel with the load box. Use 550 over 424 insulated cable to connect the dynamic braking resistor grid to the main generator cable to shown in figure 13.4. As the main electrical cabinet, connect the left with the number 2 with the M12 with the right front with the number 5 RVF1. The main electrical cabinet, connect the left rear number 1 B3 with the right front with number 5 B23. The number 2 the electrical cabinet, connect the left rear number 1 B6 to the left number B2 number B56 of the number electrical cabinet. Connect the left 2, number 2 with the M45 to the front, number 5, B56. Alright, your figure 13.4 shows the cable connection parallel to the locomotive that owns the load grids. Backward transition, forward transition, 5540 cable, reverse voltage, forward, main electrical cabinet, number 2 electrical cabinet. If the unit under load test is equipped with extend with the range dynamic to perform the following, connects the form at 0.86 ohms locomotive dynamic braking grids and series parallel load box. Use the 554 over 24 insulated cable. The dynamic resistor grid as main generator cable as shown in figure 13.4. At the main electrical cabinet, connect the right front number 5, the RVF1, left number 2 M12. At the main electrical cabinet, connect the right front with the number 5 M12 transition relay bus assembly. Make the electrical cabinet with the connected left rear number 1 B3 to the left and number 2 B23. Note the number 2 electrical cabinet, connect the left number 2 to the M45 left and number 2 to the MV56. Disconnect the BK wire from the J of the OCP. Alright, loading the unit. Load test setup with the check within the order to perform the load test of valve to report the replace the starting of the fuse, start the diesel engine, allow the engine to warm up the caution, do not apply the load until the water temperature reaches at least 130 degrees Fahrenheit. So the locomotive controls the operation under the power level with the throttle and the remain idle. Replace the reverse level and forward position. Check the RFV1 forward switch gear has been picked up with the reverse fingers. 1 switch of the power of the contacts remain dropped. Replace with the generator field's fuse with the throttle in 1 position. Check the following: engine oil pressure satisfactory. New full oil water leaks compressor unloaded. Load box grid hatch fan, dynamic braking grid blower operation, generator voltage and amp registering. Advanced throttle 1 step at a time. The full engine speed load within the full speed load. Check the radiator fan. Check the operation of chassis button located with the engine temperature switch with the throttles in the run 8 position. Check the load regulator with the balance point not at the maximum field position. Close all engine rooms doors and allow the engine to run at full load until condition stabilizes about 1/2 of the hour of the horsepower. And once it begins check, it's at least 60 minutes into the oil cooler performance is being checked. Shutter can be blocked, open the same, and some of the shutter area blocked if any of the closer control temperature is needed to stability. Check the engine water temperature periodically until there is no difference between one temperature reading and another taken in 15 minutes later. One thing the engine room does doors taking temperature readings can affect the stability condition. Always allow for the condition to stabilize before taking the second reading. 20. When stabilizing the condition, verified, observe the recorded values. Condition will indicate with the form shown. Observe the data to take the second setting reading 10 to 15 minutes and third set at 10 to 15 minutes after the second. From the observation, calculate the corrected brake horsepower. Use the formula's curve correction factors, auxiliary horsepower values appear in the surface data. 2. If the total horsepower adjusted to standard condition does not fall within allowable limits listed on the surface data page, the racking setting, the injection time, the valve time, and the governor setting, the injector calibration, air filter cleanliness, power assembly condition, generator excitation should be checked to find the reason for the horsepower discrepancy. 23. If the engine lube with the oil temperature is higher than the maximum indicated with the calculation shown on the load test data sheet, see the section 2 for the surface data. Lube oil cooler should be cleaned and inspected. Return locomotive control circuit with the normal operation condition. Perform the following: isolate the unit and stop the diesel engine. Disconnect the loading cable of the main generator shunt panel from the transition relay assembly. Applicability: disconnect the 4,000 ampere shunt meters to replace with the shunt bus. If the locomotive load on the owns of the dynamic resistor grid, in addition with the load block for the grid hatch, disconnect the jumper cable to the switch gear circularly bolt locomotive with the gear cable and plate for the reconnect the BKH wire to J with the OCP panel if applicable. Reconnect the MJ6 wire with the number 1 contact of the isolation switch relay. Disconnect the jumper wire from the G for the power contactors 714H and 736. Disconnect the jumper B1, B2 for the power relay, parallel relay. If the applicable, to reconnect the AM wire to the 2 wheel slip control. Reconnect the ALG wire to the wheel slip control. If applicable, to reconnect the A1 wire to the terminal board 68.7. Return the locomotive controls to the normal standby condition. If the radiator fans and shutters were black, return the normal conditions. Standardization data: lube oil coolers, 400 amp, 50 meter shunt voltmeter, millimeter 1100 to 0.201 cable. Heat resistant rubber heat run insulation terminal lugs for the 1100 to divided by 0.021 cable. The 1325 to over 24 cable. Heat resistant rubber neoprene install in terminal lugs, 550 over 24 cable. Heat resistant rubber neoprene installation terminal lugs, 550 over 24 cable drilled except 3/8 and then bolt stud and blank. Table of contents, table of cable recommendation for loading testing. Alright, thermometers required. DL indicating 0 to 150. Equipped with a 1/4 inch MPT. Threaded side of the glass thermometer 0 to 150. Glass thermometers 100 to 250 Fahrenheit. Bulb 1/4 inch maximum diameter. Cage glass 100 to 250. And then we have a horsepower correction factor for the mile 16s. And load test horsepower standardization. And some charts after that. We'll read this one real quick though. Alright, your load test horsepower standardization model SD45 governor reg 0.87, the engine RPM 908, total horsepower adjustment standards conditions 3,765, 3,960. Formula equals generator horsepower or equal to main generator volts, main generator amps over the generator efficiency factor, a factor of 7.5, 715 recommended. Total horsepower adjustment standard generator horsepower times auxiliary horsepower A times B times C times over divided by A times B times C times D. Where in the formula A is the correction factor of the air temperature standard 60 degrees, B is the correction factor altitude with the current certain sea level at 29.9 inches mercury, incorrect is the correction factor of the fuel density standard 0.84 specific gravity, and 8 is the correction factor of the fuel temperature standard at 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Auxiliary generator 4.0, traction motor 124.0, cooling fans 48 inches 9 inch blade 147.0, inertial separator blower 13.5, WBO compressor unloaded 17.0, deducted 49 horsepower for each for the cooling fan not running, 305.5 total. And that concludes the reading of the SD45 Locomotive Service Manual, Section 13.